Welcome to Bookcast Bestsellers in Minutes, and today we are diving deep into the Serviceberry, Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World by Robin Wall Kimmerer.
It's a fascinating book. It really explores how nature, and especially the serviceberry, can teach us a whole new way of thinking about wealth, generosity, and, our relationship with the world around us.
Okay, so before we even open the book, let's set the scene. Imagine you're out on a warm summer evening, the air is buzzing, birds are singing, you're surrounded by these serviceberry bushes, just loaded with ripe fruit. You can just pick handfuls of these juicy little berries, totally for free.
Ah, that's a great image. That feeling you're describing, that sense of abundance, overflowing abundance, it's like nature is offering a gift and the serviceberry is like a symbol of that generosity.
It really makes you think about where our food comes from, right? We just grab our plastic container of berries from the grocery store. Don't even think twice about it. We're so used to paying for everything, we kind of forget that nature offers so much for free.
Yeah, and Kimmerer really highlights that disconnect, right?
Right.
She contrasts the way we buy our food with the abundance of service berries that are just freely given. And she points out that service berries actually have all these different names: Saskatoon, Juneberry, Shadbush, Sugarplum. They each reflect a different aspect of their importance to people and to ecosystems.
I love that idea. Each name tells a story. It deepens our connection to the plant, reminds us that it's more than just something we eat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And through those stories, Kimmerer introduces this idea of a gift economy. It's a way of thinking about wealth and value that's so different from our modern market economy. Imagine a system where status comes from giving, not getting.
Okay, so hold on. Walk me through this.
Yeah.
What does a gift economy actually look like in practice?
Well, think about it this way. Have you ever helped a friend move?
Of course.
You probably didn't get paid, but you got pizza and good vibes, right?
Mm.
That's a tiny gift economy in action. It's about valuing relationships and contributions that go beyond just money.
So it's like trading favors, but with a deeper sense of connection and reciprocity. You're not just exchanging things, you're strengthening the bond between people.
Exactly. Kimmerer uses this incredible example from anthropologist Daniel Everett. He was studying this hunter-gatherer community in the Amazon, and one day this hunter brings home this huge kill, way more meat than his family could ever eat. And Everett was wondering, how are they going to store all this?
I'd be thinking about freezers and salt curing and, all those preservation techniques.
Right, but Everett asked the hunter how he was going to store all that meat, and the hunter was totally baffled. He said, "Store my meat. I store my meat in the belly of my brother."
Wow, that's such a powerful image. It really challenges our idea of what it means to be wealthy. Abundance isn't about how much you can hoard for yourself. It's about how much you can share with your community.
Exactly. And Kimmerer points out that this idea of a gift economy isn't just some ancient concept. It's alive and well today. Think about potlatches. Those traditional ceremonies where Indigenous communities give away massive amounts of wealth, or even something as simple as a little free library.
Or sharing your homegrown veggies with a neighbor.
Exactly. It's those small acts of generosity that create a sense of community and abundance. And she even mentions her neighbor Polly, who grows service berries and invites people to pick them for free. It's like a modern-day example of that hunter sharing his meat with his brother.
It really flips the script on that whole tragedy of the commons idea. That idea that shared resources are always going to be destroyed by self-interest. If sharing is so fundamental to human nature, how come we're always told that we're doomed to overexploit what we share?
That's a great point, and Kimmerer tackles that head-on. She brings up Eleanor Ostrom's work. She was this Nobel Prize-winning economist who studied how communities manage shared resources. And her research showed that the tragedy of the commons isn't inevitable at all. People can and do cooperate to sustainably manage shared resources, especially when they have a sense of trust and responsibility.
So it's not about privatizing everything, like some economists would argue. It's about fostering those connections, those relationships of reciprocity that make us want to care for something larger than ourselves.
Exactly. And Kimmerer connects this to the idea of the honorable harvest. This is an Indigenous practice that emphasizes respect and balance when taking from the earth.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that before. Like when you're picking apples from a tree and you hesitate to take the last one, it's almost like an instinct to leave something for others,
Yeah.
Make sure there's enough to go around.
That's exactly what the honorable harvest is about, recognizing that we're part of this web of interdependence. We're not separate from nature. And it involves knowing the ways of the plants and animals, asking permission before taking only what you need, and always giving back.
It's about gratitude, right? Appreciating the gifts that we receive and recognizing that we have a responsibility to care for the source of those gifts.
Exactly. And Kimmerer shows how the serviceberry itself embodies this principle. Think about the way it interacts with birds and insects and fungi. They all depend on each other. They're all working together in this incredible cycle of giving and receiving.
It's like a tiny model of a sustainable economy, all playing out in the branches of a serviceberry bush.
Exactly. And this brings us to this key point that Kimmerer makes. Evolutionary success isn't just about competition, it's also about cooperation. She argues that diversity is an antidote to scarcity. The more diverse an ecosystem is, the more resilient it is, the more abundance it can create.
So it's not about each species fighting for a bigger slice of the pie. It's about creating a bigger pie, one that can nourish everyone.
Precisely. And this leads to Kimmerer's vision of a future where our economies are modeled after the abundance and reciprocity of nature.
A world where we value relationships and the common good over individual accumulation. It's a beautiful vision, but is it really possible in our current system?
Kimmerer believes it is. She points to inspiring examples like the resurgence of the little free farm stand initiatives like donut economics, which focuses on meeting human needs within planetary boundaries, circular economy models where waste is minimized and resources are constantly reused.
It gives me hope that we can shift from being just consumers to becoming true ecosystem citizens, practicing gratitude and reciprocity in our daily lives. But how do we actually make that shift happen?
Well, Kimmerer doesn't pretend it's easy. She dives into the challenges of weaving these gift economy ideas into a world that's dominated by market forces.
It's not like we have to abandon everything and become hunter-gatherers again.
All right.
We can find ways to integrate these ideas into our modern lives.
Exactly. Kimmerer isn't advocating for like some utopian overthrow of the market economy. It's more nuanced than that. It's more like creating a mosaic where different economic models can coexist and contribute to a more balanced and sustainable whole.
So it's about finding those spaces where gift economies can thrive, even within the larger context of the market.
Right, like those little free libraries and farm stands we were talking about. They're not going to replace grocery stores, but they offer an alternative, a way to connect with your community and experience the joy of sharing.
It's not just about material goods either, right? We share knowledge and information all the time.
Absolutely. Think about open source software, where programmers collaborate to create tools that are freely available to anyone. Or Wikipedia, this incredible repository of information built by volunteers. Even just like those helpful DIY videos on YouTube, it's all part of this digital gift economy.
It's like a modern-day potlatch, where the gift being shared is knowledge and information. I've never thought of it that way before.
It's fascinating how these online platforms are kind of redefining our ideas of value and exchange. You know, they're showing us that abundance can exist in the digital realm just as much as in the physical world.
But all this talk about abundance and sharing, it makes me wonder about those who are struggling to make ends meet. How do gift economies address issues of poverty and inequality? Can they really help those who need it most?
That's such a crucial question, and Kimmerer is very clear that true abundance can't exist alongside, rampant inequality. Gift economies, by their very nature, are designed to distribute resources more equitably, make sure that everyone has access to what they need to thrive.
So it's not just about sharing what we have, it's about creating systems that ensure everyone has something to share in the first place.
Exactly. Kimmerer points to Indigenous communities as models for how gift economies can promote both social justice and ecological sustainability. They have this long history of managing resources collectively, caring for the land, making sure everyone has a seat at the table.
It's about shifting from a mindset of scarcity and competition to one of abundance and cooperation, recognizing that our well-being is interconnected and that true prosperity means everyone has the opportunity to flourish.
And that brings us back to Kimmerer's vision of a regenerative economy, one that mimics the cycles of nature. Resources are used sustainably, waste is minimized, abundance is created through sharing and reciprocity.
It sounds amazing, but I have to admit, it all feels a bit overwhelming. The scale of the problems we're facing, climate change, social injustice, economic inequality. It's hard to know where to even begin. What can one person actually do to make a difference?
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the big picture. But Kimmerer reminds us that every act of reciprocity, no matter how small, has the power to create ripples of change. Think of it like planting a seed. You might not see the full-grown tree right away, but you're contributing to something larger than yourself.
So it's about focusing on what we can do right here, right now, in our own lives.
Exactly. She encourages us to find our own unique gifts, our own ways of contributing to the well-being of our communities and the planet.
So it could be anything from sharing our skills with others to supporting a local farmer to simply being more mindful of our consumption choices.
Every act of generosity, every expression of gratitude, every step we take towards a more reciprocal way of living, it all contributes to building a more just and sustainable world.
But let's not forget about the importance of joy and celebration in this process. Kimmerer talks about the delight of picking service berries, the shared laughter, the sense of abundance and connection. It's not just about hard work and sacrifice. It's about finding joy in our relationship with nature and with each other.
That's such a crucial point. Joy is fuel for change, isn't it? It's contagious, it's inspiring, it nourishes our spirits, it gives us the energy to keep going.
So it's not just about fixing what's broken. It's about celebrating what's beautiful, appreciating the gifts we've been given, creating a world where joy and abundance are available to everyone.
Kimmerer invites us to kind of reclaim our place in the web of life, rediscover the wisdom of our ancestors, embrace a future where humanity lives in harmony with nature.
It's like we're being called to remember something ancient, something essential about who we are and how we're meant to live in this world.
And that remembering doesn't have to be a solitary journey. We can learn from each other, from indigenous communities, from nature itself. We can create spaces where these ideas are shared, discussed, and put into practice.
So it's about fostering a sense of community, collective learning, shared responsibility for creating the world we want to live in.
Kimmerer reminds us that stories have the power to shape our understanding of the world, to transmit wisdom, to inspire action.
So it's not just about facts and figures. It's about weaving a new narrative, a story of interconnectedness, reciprocity, abundance that resonates with our hearts and minds.
And Kimmerer is such a master storyteller, isn't she? She weaves together personal anecdotes, scientific insights, indigenous wisdom, and beautiful language to create this tapestry of ideas that's both intellectually stimulating and emotionally resonant. She invites us not just to listen, but to participate in this ongoing conversation about how we want to live in this world.
It's like she's handing us a basket overflowing with seeds, inviting us to plant them in the fertile ground of our own communities, our own relationships, our own lives.
That's such a beautiful image. And I think it's a fitting way to wrap up our deep dive into the Serviceberry. It's a book that reminds us that abundance isn't a finite resource to be hoarded. It's a way of being, a way of relating to the world and to each other that creates ripples of generosity, gratitude, and joy.
It's like Kimmerer's gently nudging us to remember our place in the world.
Yeah, she's reminding us that we're not just consumers or these isolated individuals. We're part of this intricate web of relationships connected to the earth, to each other, to all living things.
It makes you realize that our actions have ripple effects, doesn't it? The way we choose to live, the way we treat each other, the way we interact with the natural world, it all matters.
Yeah, Kimmerer emphasizes that even small acts of reciprocity can have a profound impact. Think about something as simple as planting a serviceberry tree. It provides food for birds and insects, beauty for our neighborhoods, and maybe even a reminder of this whole idea of the gift economy.
It's like a living symbol of that interconnectedness she's talking about.
Exactly. And she doesn't just talk about the theory of all this. She gives us practical examples, real-world ways to bring these ideas to life. She talks about the importance of learning from indigenous communities who have been practicing these principles for generations.
Right. Recognizing that these aren't just abstract concepts. These are lived experiences, embodied wisdom that's been passed down through generations.
Exactly. And Kimmerer encourages us to seek out those teachers, those elders, those who hold this knowledge and are willing to share it. And she reminds us that learning is a reciprocal act. We receive knowledge and we have a responsibility to honor and share it in turn.
So it's not just about reading books like The Serviceberry. It's about engaging in conversations, building relationships, finding ways to weave these ideas into our daily lives.
And Kimmerer herself is such a generous teacher, isn't she? Sharing her own stories, her struggles, her moments of doubt and discovery. It makes these ideas feel so much more accessible, so much more human.
Yeah. I love how she blends scientific knowledge with indigenous wisdom and personal storytelling. It creates this rich tapestry that's both informative and deeply moving.
Yeah, she reminds us that knowledge isn't just about accumulating facts and figures. It's about understanding our place in the world, cultivating our relationships, and living in a way that honors the interconnectedness of all things.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the challenges we're facing.
Yeah.
But I think Kimmerer offers a sense of hope. She reminds us that we have the power to create change, even if it's just in our own small corner of the world.
Yeah, every act of kindness, every gesture of gratitude, every time we choose to share instead of hoard, We're contributing to that shift towards a more just and sustainable future.
It's like we're all part of this grand experiment, this ongoing exploration of what it means to live in reciprocity with the earth and with each other.
And the Serviceberry, with its generosity and resilience, it serves as a perfect guide on this journey.
It reminds us that even in the face of adversity, there's always the potential for abundance, for renewal, for new life to emerge.
And maybe that's the most important lesson of all.
So if you're feeling inspired to learn more about the Serviceberry, about gift economies, about Robin Wall Kimmerer's work, we encourage you to pick up a copy of the Serviceberry, Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World.
And remember, even the smallest acts of reciprocity can make a difference. Share a meal with a friend, plant a tree, offer a helping hand, express your gratitude for the gifts you've been given. Together, we can create a world that reflects the abundance and generosity of the Serviceberry.
And that's it for this episode of Bookcast, Bestsellers in Minutes. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the Serviceberry. Until next time, keep reading, keep learning, and keep those book suggestions coming.